Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again. And no, if you are on YouTube, your eyes do not deceive you. This is Kyle, 2K's Kaler, back in the saddle again, brother. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. Got a pretty cool show set up for tonight. And on top of that, we do have some announcements and and 2Ks, you can attest this. All the hard-hitting questions I'm going to ask you are going to be live. You have not seen these, correct?
No, have not seen anything.
Perfect.
Nothing.
Perfect. And we do have a top 5 tonight to wrap things up. So it's top 5 all-time baseball announcers. So while we're going through the show, go ahead and drop yours in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on Facebook, head on over to YouTube. It's a little bit better experience over there, but we're just happy everyone's joining us. So if you are on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell button so you can get notified every time we go live. And for those of you on the podcast side, we do appreciate you. You guys are the real MVPs of the whole thing. If you're on an Apple device, go ahead and hit there. Or if you're listening on Apple Radio, hit the follow and then give us a 5-star rating so we can move up the rankings of the sports talk scene here, ladies and gentlemen. And big shout out to Kay. And unfortunately, this is the last time we can say this. But big shout out to Kay and the crew over here at the Marcellus News for hosting us. But yeah, we are moving to a new venue as of next week. We'll kind of keep that on the down low until then, but we do have some really cool stuff lined up for that. And with this new joint, 2Ks, one of the perks is that they're going to run the show on an AM radio station.
Nice.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. So as the day and time and date's still the same.
Uh-huh.
Time and date's still the same, so that's not changing. The only thing that's really changing is probably some of the acoustics, which is good for everybody. But yet again, thank you, big thank you from the bottom of my heart, Kay, the crew over here. The show wouldn't be the same without you guys letting us host from here while we're waiting to get the new Turbo and 2Ks studio in my basement done, and hopefully 2Ks will be able to come over and install that internet here very soon. But 2Ks, no one really wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
No one really wants to talk about that. The thumbnail is are the Yankees dead? Are the Yankees dead? And we actually have a comment from Mr. Justin Ware. It says, is anyone actually sad the Yankees are off to a slow start? They are also plagued with injuries, correct? That is correct. That is very, very correct. And probably the biggest star of them all, Aaron Judge. Mm-hmm. I mean, he kind of got hurt very oddly, don't you think? I mean, He was sliding into third, and it looked like something rather. It didn't even look like that big of a deal, but obviously it was a big deal. And I mean, obviously that's the thumbnail, 2K. So let's start off with that. Do you think the Yankees are dead? Now, before we get into that, let's look at the AL East right now. Let's look at the AL East. Tampa is 28-7, which on top of that, a run differential of plus 115. Holy shit! Through 35 games, that is insane. That's insane. And it's kind of weird to think that even though Baltimore's off to one of the best starts in their history, they're 5.5 games back. Mm-hmm. But playing very, very good baseball. I'm really top to bottom. This has to be the best or deepest division in all of baseball.
This is arguably one of the best divisions in all of baseball ever.
Yeah.
Like of all time. When you look at these teams, and that's why going back to the question here, are the Yankees dead? I say absolutely. I mean, this is normally I'm one of those guys that says, well, you got to wait till the summertime gets here. Let's get and see what happens. But there's also a such thing as digging such a big hole and that you never can get out of it. And the way that they have played sub 500 baseball, and 2 or 3 of these other teams in this league are,
they're
with
hot
the records where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Yankees can get back. I don't think they can unless something crazy happens with a couple of these teams where the injury bug just hits them. I don't think there's any way the Yankees crawl back out of this.
And to kind of further my point about the division, the Yankees are 18-17, and they're in last place in the division. Now, if you keep cruising, Kansas City's 9-26, Oakland's 8-27, Washington is 14-20, St. Louis is 11-24, and Colorado's 14-21. So every other basement dweller is far below 500, and I honestly think, top to bottom, this is where the Yankees should be as far as talent is concerned. I mean, granted, yes, Aaron Judge is out. Carlos Rodon, their big, probably aside from Judge, their biggest free agent acquisition of the offseason. might not pitch this year or ever again. I mean, he's got back pain. He just got put on the DL or the IL, again, and it says it might be here to stay.
Sure.
Which is a shame because I really like to watch him pitch.
Oh, yeah.
I really like to watch him pitch, and then Luis Severino has been on the IL.
He's just never been able to get right.
No.
I mean, it seems like it's something with him every single year. And honestly, that's kind of been the MO for the Yankees the last 5-6 years. I mean,
Yeah.
It seems like it's always the injury bug that hits them.
Except for last year.
Yeah,
They were very, very healthy last year.
They were great. Basically first half of the season, you get past the deadline last year, and they were not. They were playing pretty bad baseball going down the stretch and into the playoffs, and it showed. But I think this team is dead because, like you just said, if you look at these rosters on paper and these teams, I think the Yankees are the worst team out of all these teams, roster-wise. I really do. And the other reason why I think they're dead is they're going to have to play the most games all the way out against these teams.
Absolutely.
In this division. So it's going to be a very, very big challenge, very big uphill battle for them the rest of the year. And I tell you what, it does not make me upset at all that they are in last place. I hope that when it all finishes up, I hope that they're still in the same spot.
And since we are talking about the AL East, I did want to pull this up about my Red Sox because I did not put them in the questions list here, 2Ks, but I'm rather impressed.
Yeah,
I am rather impressed. This tweet was from Jake T. O'Donnell. I pulled this off on Tuesday. Red Sox American League offensive ranks through 30 games. First in doubles, second in hits, home runs, average, slugging, third in runs, on-base percentage, walks, and third in OPS, all with no Story and very little Duvall.
Mm-hmm. With the start that Duvall had on the season,
he was right
and
on.
for him to go down, and for Boston to be where they're at, 21-15, I think you got to be pretty happy with that, knowing that those two guys are going to be coming back here soon. I'm pretty happy with 21-15 if I'm a Boston fan right at this point.
Yeah, and Chris Sale looked like the Chris Sale Bolt yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hitting 99 on the gun. It was just amazing. So I'm thoroughly excited about that. And I did want to touch on your Tigers here. Nope, that was an old one. Sorry, I did that two weeks ago. So we both agree that the Yankees are dead, which I mean doesn't really shock a whole lot of people that you and I both think it's not a bad thing that this is happening. And my softball teammate here, Mr. Jordan Peterson, says, "Go Guardians." And
I hope the Guardians fucking get swept here this week. Playing against the Tigers now.
And he also says Yoshida has been the hottest hitter in baseball, which he really has.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of Boston Nation that was just appalled that they were paying him this much money.
Mm-hmm.
And 100% right, Jordan. He's paid off and more so far. So hopefully this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I think a close second hitter on that team is Verdugo. Verdugo's off to the best start of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, doing it on a team that's kind of minus a whole bunch of star power. And Rafael Devers, I think he's second or third in the league in home runs. So he's picking up where he left off and having a very Devers-like season. So 2Ks, my next question to you is it's not about a team, but about a player. And is Ronald Acuna Jr. the best all-around player in the game right now? And the reason I ask that is this. He's batting .338, which is fifth in all of baseball. He only has 6 home runs, which the leader is Max Muncy at 12. So I think he's tied for like 8th or 9th. RBIs, he's not in the top 5. Hits, He has 46, which is third behind Arraez and Bichette. Bichette has 49, Arraez has 47. And speaking of Arraez, how that dude just hits everything. But to kind of put everything into perspective here, 2Ks, stolen bases. He has 15, which is second behind Ruiz from Oakland. So, this isn't, is he the best player? Mm-hmm. But all around, I mean, hell, if you watch the game today, he had a hellacious put out from right field to third. I think now that he's healthy, and he's obviously back. I mean, the power's back. I mean, obviously his legs are good with the stolen bases. It just seems like everything is clicking for him, not only him, but this whole team. Yeah. But yeah, just to continue on the Acuna thing. I think when he went down when they won that World Series, it was just kind of like he was. A lot of people just kind of forgot about him. And leading up to that, I mean, he was one of the most electric players in the game. He could do everything. He could do everything and do it with flash and do it. Just do it. Do it just having fun. I mean, comparing him to Mike Trout, is always been. I guess there's always a direct comparison, but they're two very different players. But they have the same skill set. Yes, they play. I think the Braves have Acuna playing in right instead of center, but he did start his career in center, and it's just it seems like he does it with more of a flair, more of a panache, if you will, and it's just fun to watch. It's fun to watch. And Jordan says, Buxton when healthy is better. That's the key right there, dude, is can Buxton stay healthy? We haven't seen it yet. We've seen very, very awesome streaks of him. I just need to see him put it together for a whole season. That's my big thing. Do I think when he is healthy, is he a perennial MVP candidate? Absolutely. 110%. 110%. But as far as, I just got to see him. But yes, Byron Buxton is an amazing, amazing baseball player, for sure, 100%. And just to kind of give you Acuna's stats, he's played 35 games, 136 at-bats, like I said, 46 hits, 11 doubles, 6 home runs, and the leader is Matt Olson on the team with 10. Murphy has 9 as well as Albies. And Riley is tied with Acuna with 6. He has 21 RBIs, 75 total bases. And here's another key stat here. He has 21 walks and 23 strikeouts, 15 stolen bases. That strikeout to walk thing is, a lot of people will think is kind of overrated. I do not. I love a good... It very rarely do you see these days where the walks outnumber strikeouts. So very, very, I mean, let's see here. Albies has 24 strikeouts, 7 walks. Trying to see here. Ozuna has 21 strikeouts, 13 walks. And no one else is even close. Just kind of for instance, Matt Olson has 54 strikeouts, 25 walks. So, but then again, his batting average is only 246, where Acuna's is 338. So yeah, that's with the start. Now again, this Jordan, when you're talking about Buxton being healthy, I really want to see Acuna do this all year. I mean, how awesome would that be to see him off to this start and actually continue to do it and just be that player that he is, because this Braves team looks like it's better now than the team that won the World Series just a couple years ago. And that's scary to think about. If you think about it, obviously Freddie Freeman isn't there. A handful of other cats aren't there. But it seems like this team, no matter who they put on the field, and the vast majority of them are homegrown talent, that it's just absolutely nuts and insane to think that that this team can only go up from here. And let's look at the standings here. Atlanta's 24-11, won 7 of their last 3. And in the AL East, they're the only team with a plus run differential. They're plus 56. And the nearest one to them are the Mets at 17-18. The Braves are the only team over 500 in their division, and the Mets have a minus 10 run differential. The Marlins are in third, and they have a minus. They're tied for second with the Mets, and they have a minus 56 run differential. That is crazy to think about. Crazy to think about. Everything okay?
Have kids, they said. As far as I know, we'll see.
I was just going over. I kind of did a deep dive into Acuna's stats, and then we took a look at the just how Atlanta is in the AL East. Mm-hmm. And one team that I mentioned was, which is going to lead me. I guess I answer the question. I think he is the best all-around player going right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The home run numbers are down a little bit. He hits a lot of line drives. Hits the ball on the ground a lot, which is why the batting average is where it's at. I would like to see the home run numbers come around a little bit more, just because I want to see a 40-40 guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And because was he on pace right now to steal like 80 bags?
I'd say he's got 15 right now.
Yeah.
And one stat that I threw out that you missed was he has 23 strikeouts and 21 walks.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And with it's easy when you're asked this question, it's easy just to say Shohei just because he pitches and he hits, but his hitting numbers are not what we're used to this year so far. The pitching has been great, but it's I think I would say I'm going to go with Acuna. I think Acuna is the favorite to win the MVP as we speak right now, just because of the stolen bases and being on base all the time. When you think of most valuable player to his team, he's doing everything for him right now, and defensively, arguably the best outfielder in it, and probably the best arm in all of baseball out there. So,
Jordan did make a suggestion. He said Byron Buxton, when healthy, is better.
Byron Buxton when defensively?
Just all around.
All around? No.
I say Buxton does have all 5 tools, but
better than Acuna when Acuna's rolling? No.
I don't think so.
No.
But again, I as a baseball fan, I want to see Buxton healthy for a whole year doing it. That would get me super excited. But getting back to the AL or the NL East, 2Ks. The Mets are sitting at 17-18, tied with the Marlins for second in that division. And another stat that I pointed out while you're gone is the Braves have a run differential of plus 56, the only positive run differential in the NL East. Are the Mets starting pitching, are they just too old?
Yeah. I still think that they got it to a point. I think Verlander probably still has it. I think Scherzer, though, kind of the other way around it. There's a lot of miles on those guys. A lot of miles on those guys. And for the most part, they've both been healthy their entire career. You just recently with the Verlander, Tommy John surgery, so he was out there for a while, but then he comes back off of it and wins a Cy Young, and it was just Verlander, I just don't even really think he's human.
Right.
He comes back in the Tigers game last week and gives up a couple home runs in the first inning, but then he settled in, and it was just like watching typical Justin Verlander. Still gave him 6-7 innings like he always does. But Scherzer has me worried a little bit from watching him, and I think it's pretty fair to say that he's old. He's pitched a lot of innings. He's pitched a lot of big innings, a lot of big-time situations. And then the amount of money that they have tied into just him and Verlander alone.
Yes.
I think that those are contracts that probably I think the case is still out there with Verlander, but I think the Scherzer ones, it's going to come back to bite them there.
And yeah, because the Verlander deal was only a 2-year deal, right? So I get that, and you could argue that the Mets would have been better off just re-signing DeGrom, but DeGrom's been hurt too. So and he's shown a track record. It's a sad thing, but he's kind of shown a track record these last couple of years that he just can't stay healthy either. So
yeah, his is scary. I mean, talking about DeGrom right now, I mean, there's a good chance that he is going to need Tommy John, just from what we're hearing and what they're saying. Yeah, and it's too bad. It's because
dude's electric.
It's too bad for him because he's such a talent. You just want to, for baseball's sake, you just want to see him out there every 5 days. And then with Verlander and Scherzer, especially like Verlander, to think about Verlander like being on that downward, like this is maybe the last couple of years, and to think about a pitcher that me as a Tigers fan watched for 10 plus years, and in 6 or 7 of those seasons you thought this guy's not even human. Like he's starting games in the first inning and throwing 93, 94, and then still out there with 120 pitches in the ninth and throwing his fastest pitch in the ninth inning at 101 when he's 120 pitches into the game. And it was like, this guy is not even fucking human. So to see, I think what we're going to be seeing here in the next couple of years, especially like that, a guy like that, is I think they're going to show. It's just like watching Miggy now. I mean, the injuries with Miggy have kind of played the toll, but when you watch these guys, that you're just like, man, they're for a time, for a 6, 7, 8 year stretch there, they were the best in the game. And now watching them is, and I'm not saying Verlander and Scherzer are anywhere close to that Miggy level right now, because Miggy's he's just hard to watch right now. But yeah,
and I agree, dude. Let me rephrase that. I agree that they're old, but it's not just those two either. It seems like the Mets farm system doesn't have anything to replenish any of these starting pitchers when they go down. Excuse me. So that's why I say yes. They are too old. Do I still think when it comes down to it, are Scherzer and Verlander going to do their thing? Yes, I do. This last start for Verlander was the first one of the year for him.
And he looked good. I mean, he gave up 2 home runs in the first inning, and then settled right in. He looked good. I don't think I'm saying I'm not as worried about Verlander as I am about Scherzer. Scherzer has me worried a little bit.
And it's the competitive nature of both of those two guys that I think will pull it through. But again, maybe it's one of those they kind of, not to say that the Braves are running away with the division quite yet, but they kind of are.
Sure.
So it's.
And it's like, you have, when you look at that question as far as are they too old, and then you have, $100 million wrapped up in the 2 of them this year, there is no argument to be made. I would rather have Spencer Strider and Fried
100%.
For the Braves over those 2.
Yep, and Fried, it was either yesterday or today, Fried had his worst start of the year and gave up, I think, 4 earned runs.
Yeah.
He had a scoreless streak of like 19 or something obscene. And giving up 4 or 5 runs, his ERA ballooned to like 2.1. So, all right, 2Ks. My next question was brought to us by one of my buddies, Mr. Nick Romo. I have our little chat window here. He says, "Bro," which I didn't even know he was a Cardinals fan. So that was news to me. Bro, you should do a talk on the trash Cardinals, some analytics, LOL. I said, oh, we're going to do something very similar to that on Sunday, and the Yankees too. He says, I hate my team. I said, well, at least you're not a Tigers fan. He said, I want the manager fired.
Right. This is so funny to me because I was listening to a baseball podcast this week, and they were taking phone calls from Cardinals fans. Oh, yeah? And these Cardinals fans are just going nuts, like, sell the team. This is a fucking joke. On and on. And I was just laughing because I'm like, you guys are arguably one of the best franchises in the time that I've been alive in all of sports.
Yep.
I mean, the World Series are there. The playoff appearances are there. They're never a joke. Like, they're never bad. And this year they get off to like they're 10-20, 10-21, whatever. They won today against the Tigers. I think that might have been. Anyways, it's a shit start. There's no arguing that. But like, relax. Maybe I'm gonna say this. I don't fucking feel sorry for you.
No.
Try doing this shit for fucking 10 straight years.
Well, I did pull a tweet about the Cardinals.
Their pitching sucks.
Yes, and they are currently 11-24. I think I pulled this off on Tuesday or Wednesday. The St. Louis, and this is from Barstool Baseball. Shout out at Stool Baseball. The St. Louis Cardinals fell to 10-23 and own the worst record in the National League. This is the stat. They were never 13 games under 500 at any point during Yadier Molina's career. So to answer Nick's question, do you think they should fire the manager? Now, mind you, I had to Google who in the hell the manager of the Cardinals was. Oliver Marmol. Mm-hmm. Never heard of him. Have no idea where he's from. Hell, he's younger than me. He's 36. Okay. He got hired last year. He is the youngest manager in baseball. So do you think it's time for a regime change in St. Louis, or do you just stay the course?
Manager-wise, it might be time. I mean, I know that they're the team that had. You'd have to correct me because I don't follow Cardinals baseball, but this is the story where the manager here, he pulled Tyler O'Neill out of the game for not hustling or something like that, which I thought that was kind of a joke. The way that situation was handled. When shit like that happens, I think it stays in the clubhouse. It doesn't need to make it out. And I remember that going down. I think that this was the team where this all happened at. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong on it. But anyways, it might be time for that. But as far as like some of these voicemails that I was listening to on this podcast where they're like, sell the team and shit like that, I'm like, all right, now let's relax a little bit.
Yeah.
We're a month and a half into the season. Let's see where things go here. Not a team in that division has ran away with it. No. So at this point, even as I mean, look back to last year. How shitty of a start the Phillies got off to. The Phillies were in the World Series. Yeah. So there's certain situations like when you see where the Yankees are at, and even though the Yankees are still playing 500 baseball, I say that they're out just because the teams in their division are not going to allow them back in.
Right.
When you talk about the Cardinals, you have Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh's, they got up to a great start. They've played hot. That team's going to come back to reality.
Which they have.
Milwaukee is very average baseball team. I don't think that they're going to be anything spectacular either. So the Cubs have played average baseball. They got up to a pretty good start, and they've kind of flatlined out too here recently. Haven't been playing near as well. So I think the Cardinals have a chance to get back into this. Their pitching is very, very bad. They're going to have to figure something out there. I noticed today that Contreras is not catching any. He's not going to be their main catcher.
That's
they're going to use him more as a DH, I guess, for kind of not being able, not knowing this pitching staff very well. Yeah. And so we'll see how that goes and when they start making that change. But this is not a very good division. I mean, this is very similar. This division to me is pretty similar to the AL Central. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's going to be a team that's just going to run away with that. There are a couple decent teams in that division, and then 3 really bad teams in that division. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think we need to relax a little bit on what's going on in St. Louis. They seem to always find a way when the season's over. They seem to always find a way to kind of
sneak in,
wiggle their way into shit, and put themselves in a position where they're playing meaningful baseball.
And when it comes down to it, there's just too much talent on that team. Goldschmidt, Arenado, I mean, a lot of those guys on there. If I'm a St. Louis fan, what irritates me the most is you guys have a plethora of young talent in the outfield, and you're using them horribly. And I know there's always a time when you're going to need extra bodies just because it's a long season, and it's just so that it's a good insurance policy. But when you have this many young guys, they're not getting the cuts, they're not getting the at bats, they're not seeing live pitching, they're not in games. Whereas if you would send them down to the minors, or 2Ks, if they were to move some of those guys, or at least one of them, and get some pitching, I think that's where the main focus should lie. Not necessarily the manager, because I guess you could kind of poke at it that the manager's the one that's making the lineup cards, but I have a very good feeling, especially as young as he is, that he's being told what the rotation's going to be in the outfield, and it's one of those things like just set it and stick with it. Because if you're going to have a down year like this, you might as well see what these guys can do, put them in long term instead of this weird rotation they have going on. So and you're right. If this is St. Louis's like horrible year, I think they're going to end up 500 at the bare minimum. Bare minimum. All right, we kind of mentioned this guy earlier on 2Ks, but is Luis Arias the best hitter in the game right now?
I mean, as far as just hitter, like just shit, he's batting just under 500. Like, it's insane what he's doing.
Yeah, granted, Tony Gwynn did it for a lot longer.
Sure.
But he's the first one that comes to mind when you talk about someone that's been on a streak like this is Tony Gwynn. And they're both left-handed. Obviously, Tony was a little bit more portly than Arias, but this guy's legit. And in my opinion, he is as far as just pure hitters. Maybe a little comparison to Ichiro a few years, but yeah, this guy to me, give me a whole team of these guys, and you're going to win a whole shit ton of games.
Yeah.
The base hitters, and he does have some pop. So it's not like he's hitting 3 or 4 home runs a year. He's hitting 10, 15 to 20.
Sure.
So, and again, has speed, plays a very valuable position. Give me a whole team full of Luis Arias, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of it's evened out a little bit. There for a while, he was batting like over 500, I want to say, and I was just looking. It's down to 420 now, so he must be slumping.
Yeah.
But 420 has 4. What did it say? He has 1 home run on the season and 6 doubles. So a lot of singles. Look, it's great, but I do think that you need guys like this on your lineup. Maybe one guy. I kind of look back when the Tigers were really good. I enjoyed watching them. They had Placido Polanco, who was just put the ball in play. Just he was always on base, and that was his job. When you have guys like Miggy behind you, guys like just some of the guys that fouled along, just be on base so that we can drive them in. But when you start putting the word best hitter, to me, when I'm talking best hitter, I'm talking guys that hit home runs, drive in runs, hit doubles, and where we're at right now. Like right now, if you're comparing best hitter just out of him and like Acuna, who we were talking about earlier, I'm taking Acuna all day long. But to be at this far into the season and be at 420 right now, that's impressive.
That's insane. That is insane to think. The next one, I'm pretty sure that mine and your friend, Mr. Christian Hudson, as well as one of the occupants of the Plummer Ranch, are probably on Ed, and as well as Kay. Is it time just to blow the White Sox up and start over? That team is too talented. And you can't blame it on LaRusse anymore. He's not there.
No. And you know what? I think you blame a lot of it on the owner because it's been, I mean, what is he, fucking 90 years old now, and it's just been kind of the same old thing for the last 10, 15 years. But I think a lot of people, and I think White Sox people, White Sox organization, thought that they had a lot of players that were better than what they are. The Luis Robert was the biggest thing coming up there for a year, so he's not as good as what people think. Eloy Jimenez
always hurt.
Granted, not as good.
He's
good.
On the aisle with an appendectomy right now, which that happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 guys in this whole thing that, to me, are lived up to their expectations. It's Tim Anderson and it's Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
Those are the two guys in this whole thing that I think other teams in baseball would want. Other than that, it's a bunch of average baseball players. It looked really, really good a couple of years ago, and I think everybody fell in love with, they hit for power, and they brought in some arms, and they were pitching the ball pretty well, but they're not as good as what people were making them out to be, and I think it's starting to show now, and then that the manager there with LaRussa was a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Manager now there is a fucking joke. It just seems like they can't figure out anything that's going on. And yeah, they're a joke, and hey, I fucking love it though.
And they are 12-23. And a big shout out to their closer, Liam Hendricks.
Yeah.
Beat cancer.
Yeah.
Was on the mound
Yep.
the other night. Love to see that.
Yep.
And that dude, he is probably my favorite player on that team, him and Tim Anderson.
Yeah.
Just because, I think he's an Aussie, and he is just fiery as all
Yes,
hell.
he is. He's a damn good closer and has
yes.
been for a long time.
Yes. And always a good thing to see someone like that come back. And but yeah, this is one of those things, 2Ks, where I think if you were to do kind of what the Tigers did, and granted, this is not what White Sox fans want to hear, because they've been in rebuilding mode for, 5-6 years now. Yeah. And I think it's going to take another 5 or 6 years to get back to where White Sox fans are hoping this team would have been by now. But the whole team just looks unmotivated.
Well, that video of Luis Robert running that ball out, you see that where he hit the ground ball back to the pitcher. It's a tough play for the pitcher. If he runs hard, he's probably safe easy. Yeah. And he's just trotting down the line, and it was like, whoa, what's going on now? I mean, you guys are playing a kid's game and making a lot of money, and this is your profession, and these fans are spending a lot of money to come and watch you play, regardless of how good you are. They're spending a lot of money, and they're paying fucking $10 to drink a goddamn beer, and you can't even run down the fucking line I have nothing for that. That shit pisses me off, and if I'm the manager in that situation, it would be some time before Luis Robert stepped back on the field, because at this point, what the fuck we got to lose? We're not winning anything. So I'm going to make a point of this jackass for doing that, and I'm going to make a point to the rest of the guys on my team that we're not fucking around anymore. If you guys want to play this Bush League bullshit, hot dogging it like that, we're done, and I'm not going to put up with it. And I don't know what happened there, because I could care less about White Sox baseball. If they pulled him, if they played him the next day.
I think they played. I don't think anything happened.
But it would have been days before he stepped foot back on. Well, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to step foot out there and play this game and make the amount of money that these guys are making doing it.
Well, look what AJ Hinch did with Baez. And he's
one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. I mean, the Tigers getting hot here and playing really good baseball starts with Javi Baez.
It should.
Yeah.
Which it should. He should be the leader of that team. Yep. But yeah, I think they could get a good ransom for some of these young, because aside, it's really weird to think that Tim Anderson's one of the old guys on the team, but he really is. And I'm sure there's many teams that would probably pony up some very good prospects and or starters right now to get him.
Sure.
I think you could get a really good ransom for Luis Robert, even though, like you pointed out, he kind of really hasn't paid off, I guess. But I think he's just one of those guys that if you put him with the right team, could explode.
What the fuck is going on in this town? We got race cars driving through here tonight?
Well, there's a whole bunch of really, really cool people driving around. And well,
don't you know we got a fucking podcast we're trying to film in here? Take it home for the night. Jesus.
Well, maybe we need to put an on-air or live.
Put a sign out there.
Yeah, well, if we did that, Christian would probably come and put nudes underneath it and get a whole other crew trying to watch us. But no, there's the haul you could get for a lot of these guys, I think, would be better than having these. And I'm not saying these players are bad by any means. I just think that's a terrible situation that I'm not sure a new manager or any other person added to that team could help.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of these guys, and I think the managing has been a joke there. I mean, the La Russa hire was an absolute fucking joke. The guy had no Hall of Fame manager, won't take anything away from him when it comes to that, but what a fucking wash up. And you're gonna bring him back in to manage this team that going into last year, at the beginning of the season, a lot of people were talking about them as being, kind of a dark horse to go and win a World Series. And with the talent that they had and coming off the year before that, and the best that you can do is fucking Tony La Russa at age 80.
105.
It was just, the job is way over his head now. It's not the same game that it used to be. I think it put a horrible image on him after, what he had already done in his career. And then to end it like that, it was just a complete fucking joke. And I think that's kind of panned over to the players. So I think for a lot of these players, still good players, very good baseball players that could help win World Series on a lot of teams.
Yes.
I think change of scenery for a lot of these guys would probably be best case scenario. Get out of there, go somewhere different, and get a little bit of a fresh start.
So I'm going to make a bold prediction. By the end of the year, Tim Anderson will be traded.
I agree.
And that's not the bold prediction. He's going to be a Padre. They've got every other good shortstop.
Bring another shortstop in?
What the hell, I mean, it just seems like they're accumulating shortstops. I'm surprised they didn't sign Dansby Swanson, for Christ's sake. But let's go from a really bad situation, 2Ks, to one that might be in turmoil here. The Astros are 17-17 on the season. However, they're only 3.5 games back of the Rangers. They have a plus 20 run differential. They've lost their last 2, and they're 4-6 in their last 10. Are they in trouble?
I don't think so yet. I'm not gonna say they're in trouble yet.
Because they're currently tied for third with the Mariners, with the Angels in second, and the Texas Rangers at 20-13, sitting atop the division.
The Angels have never done anything to prove to me that I trust them, so I figured they'll probably fall out of it. Texas, I think, is a lot like Pittsburgh. Really, really hot start, but I think eventually they're going to kind of come back to reality.
Especially with that
Jacob
DeGrom injury.
Probably not going to, good chance he doesn't even pitch again this year. So losing that.
And Corey Seager really hasn't played a lot either.
Yeah. And so I think there's a chance Texas starts to fall back to reality a little bit, and this Houston lineup is just too good. I still believe that when this is all said and when this is all over, Houston and Seattle are going to be the two teams that are going to be fighting this out. Could be wrong. Texas could stay hot, but I think that they come back to reality. And I think as the summer gets here, heats up, Houston and Seattle are both going to get hot. They got too much talent.
Yeah. And J-Rod put on a show today. Good Lord. Hit his longest home run of his career, 454 feet.
Yeah. Dude is a fucking animal. And then with Kalanick coming back and this year and being so much, I mean, he's been
huge.
Just awesome here. And really, that's been the story. Is he's been the one kind of carrying it right now, and Julio just hasn't really got it going yet this season. So hopefully, with that today, he gets it going, and look for them to be, they're a team that's going to be good for. They kind of remind me of Baltimore a little bit, where they're very, very young, got a lot of talent, and they're going to be a team that's going to be around for a while.
And we haven't even seen Altuve on the field. Yeah. So granted, he's not the Altuve of old, but
Dubon has filled in and been really, really good.
He has.
They're going to have to make a decision there on what they're going to want to do. Because obviously when Altuve is healthy, he's going to be your starting second baseman. But
he's the spark plug of the team. He's the leader of the team. So in many ways, I think that's going to be just him having him there around the team again, and just on the field somewhere. I mean, I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be huge for that team. Are they dead? No. Are they like the Yankees? No. But I do see this division being tight for most of the season, but I still think Houston walks away with that one. I still think Houston walks away with that one. So last question here, 2Ks. Are the Rays really this good? I mean, obviously they're off to. I mean, they're off to record-breaking starts. Most consecutive wins to start a season. I think they tied that record. Most consecutive wins at home to start a season. They're 28-7 for Christ's sake.
The Rays are really, really good, but the Rays are not as good as what they've showed so far. This is just a crazy, crazy start, but I think it's impossible in the game of baseball, Major League Baseball, to play at this pace for an 162 game season. So I don't think that they're that good, but at this point, right now, as I say that, I think that they are the best team in baseball too. So they're very, very good. They're just not as good as what we've seen so far because it's just unbelievable what they've done.
And since we're on the Rays 2Ks, it wouldn't be I would be doing our viewers and listeners a disservice if I didn't ask you the Wander Franco play. Too showboaty?
Yeah.
You don't like it?
No.
When I first saw it, I was like, I honestly thought he bobbled it, to be honest with you. After I watched it again, I'm like, oh no, he did that on purpose.
Yeah, no.
He for sure did that on purpose.
I wasn't a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of that one. No.
And what do you think about Rosarena? When he rounded third, did the whole...
Oh, yeah.
And then gets drilled twice consecutively.
And that's the thing, too, is you guys are playing really, really well. Don't give the rest of the league this bulletin board material to get going and turn into. Don't try to play the villain. Just keep playing the way that you've been playing. You're winning a lot of baseball games. You're playing fantastic. You got off to arguably the best start of all time. Mm-hmm. You're still the fucking Tampa Bay Rays, though. You haven't done anything yet to earn really a whole lot of respect. So just keep doing and playing it the right way. Let's not start trying to show teams up because all it takes is pissing somebody off and say they hit a Rosarena in the wrist or something, and he goes on the IL then for 2 or 3 weeks. It's the last thing that team needs. Same thing goes for Franco. You don't want to see guys like that go down, and I'm telling you, you pull shit like that, what they're doing. I think, if I'm the manager on the other side, I'm saying fucking drill him.
Yep.
Give him one.
Yep. Let him wear one. Yeah, did I think the little ball toss was cool? Yeah. It was cool. Was it needed? Absolutely not.
No, it's just
absolutely not.
It's just stupid. It's just a stupid play. It wasn't needed. There's a lot of eyes that are on you all the time, and doing just shit like that. I don't even think it wasn't even cool. Like it wasn't even like anybody can do. My fucking 10-year-old could do that. Like she could flip the ball up and catch it too in her bare hands. So it wasn't like it was just a stupid thing to do in that situation. So I didn't like it.
So in the moment I thought it was cool, and then I was like, oh, you know what? It's one of those things where either you're gonna wear one or one of your teammates is gonna wear one, and is it worth it?
Yep.
Nope. All right. Well, 2Ks, that wraps up this edition of Hard-Hitting Baseball Questions. And a big shout out to Nick Romo for giving us a little fodder here this evening. And a big shout out to Mr. Jordan Peterson and Mr. Justin Ware for interacting with us. Well, 2Ks, it's top 5 time. Top 5 time. And when I initially texted you about top five baseball announcers, and then I started thinking, because shortly after that I was like, going now. I'm like, I don't know a whole lot of them going now.
Yeah, me neither.
Like I'll play spoiler here, and I will say that none of the Tigers booth is on my list. They're some of the hardest teams to watch and listen to. So I kind of went back on it, and I was like, all right, top baseball announcers of all time. Now, granted, our list are probably going to have some of the same, but I think there's going to be a lot of differences because when I said all time, that's probably we're rating it off of, and correct me if I'm wrong, the ones that we've listened to.
Sure.
So obviously, there's 11 years between us. I've got a little jump start on you. But why don't you start us off with your number 5 baseball announcer all-time 2Ks?
And number 5, it's not that I've really, a diehard fan of them. Not that I really listen to him a lot, but I picked this guy just because I think he would be on a lot of guys' lists. And when you think about baseball announcers, he's like the first one that comes to mind. Vince Scully. You know, when you think of baseball announcers, I think he's probably the face of all of them.
Absolutely.
I mean, he starts there. I personally didn't listen to it a lot. I personally, could care less about baseball over there on the West Coast, but for a lot of people, it's a big deal. So that's why I have him at number 5. I feel like anytime you have a top 5 list of announcers, you got to have like the GOAT.
Yeah.
So that's.
All right, you're number 4.
Number 4, I go. This is the only one I have that is that's a present announcer, and probably for most of you don't even know who the hell it is. But I go Dan Dickerson. He's the radio announcer for the Tigers. I wish that they could pull it off where he would go to the TV side because he is so good. For so many years I've enjoyed listening to him. I think he just has the voice for it. So he's my favorite one. It's active right now, but a lot of people probably don't get to listen to it very often because you just don't listen to the Tigers on the radio. I do because I'm listening to their day games a lot of times when I'm at work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times where I actually enjoy listening to them on the radio more than I even do watching them. So just because of Dan Dickerson himself.
I do know some folks that will actually mute the TV and listen to the radio. And I don't know if you remember this 2Ks, but people used to go to the ballpark and have AM FM radios and would listen to the broadcast while watching the game live. So you probably hardly ever see that happening nowadays because of all the jumbotrons and seeing what's going on. But they actually did that. And your number 3?
Number 3, I don't really like this guy, but I have mad respect for him because I don't know if I've ever heard somebody that just lived, bled, died for the team that he worked for so many years, and that's Hawk Harrelson.
Yeah.
He would annoy the fuck out of me being on the other side listening to games.
It's a can of corn, dude.
He was so diehard White Sox baseball, and he spoke his mind in every situation, and sometimes probably went a little bit too far with it. But as a baseball fan, I respect that shit. Even though it was probably for the team that I hate more than any team in all of baseball, I still respect that because he's just a fan. He's a White Sox fan.
Put it on the board.
And to me that is just amazing. So, but yes, he would, so many things he would do that were so fucking annoying.
All right, you're on number 2.
Number 2, I gotta go Bob Uecker, man. Fucking love him.
Got it. And he's current now too.
Yes.
He's still current.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forget about that.
Brewers.
Yeah. He just the voice. The voice fucking gets me.
He is the best character on Major League. The movie. I honestly wish that movie could have followed him around instead of the team. Great movie. One of my top 5 baseball movies of all time. But I think it would have been a whole lot cooler.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To see it. You can't say goddamn on the air. Don't worry, no one's listening anyway. And your number 1 2Ks.
My number 1 is pretty easy. I'm a Tigers fan, so you go back to when I first started listening to the Tigers as a little kid, and then when I fell in love with the Tigers, it's Ernie Harwell.
Yep.
I mean, it's like generation to generation to generation. My whole family all being Tigers fans and all enjoying listening to him, and so yeah. Even though it was a short period of time that I got to listen to him when he was still working, but still probably the most impactful.
Absolutely. And just overall baseball fans. I mean, when you have an announcer like that's known throughout the sport, that's a pretty legit deal.
Yep.
It's a pretty legit deal. My number 5 is a Buck.
Oh.
But Jack Buck. Joe Buck sucks, remember? Joe Buck is my least favorite baseball or sports announcer, period. Hands down. Love John Smoltz. Hate Joe Buck.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Smoltz.
Me too. Love Smoltz to death. Just to kind of give you a refresher, Jack Buck called McGuire's 61st home run, which is honestly legendary at the time. My number 4 is a current guy, Oral Hershiser. Love the man, love him to death. And what's cool about him is he, as dominating of a pitcher as he was, still knows baseball in and out. Which Smoltz does too, but Smoltz more or less is, it isn't really talking about defensive positioning and, stuff like that. It's just pretty much like his expertise is pitching, communicating with catchers, that type of thing. Whereas Hershiser goes a little bit above and beyond that. And I would never say I'm a Dodgers fan, but he was fun to watch as a kid. So number 4, I have to go Mr. Hershiser. And number 3, I got to go Harry Carey on this one. Iconic, legendary. He's pretty much the reason that a lot of teams sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" during a ball game, and and this is something I would really like to know: was he like that away from the booth, or was that just a character that he portrayed? I really hope in my heart of hearts that he was like that 24 hours a day, and that's just who he was. But living in the era that he did, I could see it being totally a character as well. So, but as far as doing it for as long, being the icon that he was, and still knowing a lot of baseball and being entertaining as hell. If you guys don't remember, I'm pretty sure there has to be something on YouTube of just ridiculous Harry Carey calls, and he's probably about a bottle and a half deep into Jack Daniels. So, really, really entertaining. Really entertaining. Number 2, I gotta agree with you with Ernie Harwell. Again, legendary, iconic, and like I said, when other teams know the voice of your team, that pretty much goes without saying. And my number 1 is again agreeing with you on your list is Bob Uecker. To me, it does not get any better. Uke is the man, and to still be doing it at this age, love it, and still having the pizzazz, the pop, and the longevity. And the one name you won't see on here is Vin Scully. I respect Vin Scully to death. The man has forgotten more baseball than I will ever know. I didn't enjoy his style. Yeah. His voice was amazing. But he's calling a game while telling stories. There wasn't a color guy there. He ran a one-man booth. Sure. And that's the last handful of years he did it. Obviously, the only time we got to really watch it was on MLB Network. And I would honestly turn the game off because it was
bad. It was bad.
But like I said, the man is a legend. He deserves every accolade he's ever received.
And I was just looking on there, about 67 years. Yeah. 67 years, which is calling games is just insane.
Could you imagine just all the shit that he's seen? Yeah. And another name that I don't mind, Bob Costas. I don't mind him. Another one that I wish I wish he did it for longer, which was Mark Grace. Mark Grace was electric. He was an electric factory. Sure. Just said some things that you really can't say on the air. Yeah. And probably the one that's the up and comer right now is Dallas Braden.
Yep.
Love Dallas Braden.
I thought a little bit about him, but the thing is, I just haven't listened to a lot of it. Nobody cares about the A's, so
I think him and the moms of the players on the A's are the only people that care about the A's.
Right. And now with them, leaving here for Vegas in the next few years, I think there might be a chance that Dallas goes somewhere bigger, where he starts doing, maybe all games and not just A's games anymore. I think with them leaving Oakland and going into Vegas, it kind of cuts ties a little bit with him, where he's probably not going to want to be I could be wrong. Maybe he, wants to be a lifer A's staff member, but I think it kind of changes things a little bit now that they're going to be in Vegas, and he's not real interested in just sticking that out. So we'll see where it goes. I would like to. He's obviously a baseball podcast. Listening to it, I love listening to him. So
I do miss the Starting Nine podcast a lot. I actually haven't found one I've liked as much.
Right.
mean, all the Barstool stuff.
Well, they got their new one with Carabas now.
Yeah.
Baseball is Dead is what it's called. And Dallas is on that quite often with him, pretty much all the time. So that's pretty much what I listen to all the time is those guys. And they're still just the same old goofballs arguing about
I love it.
back and forth. They work really well together. They know every little way to just piss each other off, and that's what's so funny.
I just love when they get in arguments about how good Carabas is at baseball.
Yeah.
Because if you've seen videos, he is not good at all.
No, he's not. He doesn't have an athletic bone in his body.
No. But Dallas is as goofy as he looks, as string beanpole guy as he looks, is extremely athletic. That dude has one of the prettiest left-handed swings I've seen in a long time. I'm not putting him up there with Griffey because that is the best. But I would say probably top 20 swings I've ever seen from a pitcher, 2Ks, a pitcher that never really hit.
Yep.
And yes, he can bomb some softballs. Straight bomb some softballs. The only thing that I'm actually kind of shocked that and if you don't follow him on Twitter, do, because he's a fantastic follow. Never have I heard someone refer to because when someone gets a new contract, they got paid, they got the bag. Sure. Dallas says they got breaded up chicken titties. So, them breaded up chicken titties. So yeah, he's an awesome follow, and I'm buying whatever he's selling.
Sure.
And when he was on Starting Nine, by far the best ad reader I've ever heard.
Yo.
And if you gave him a script, you're doing him a disservice because he's gonna pub your shit better than any ad read, any marketing person could ever come up with. So keep that in mind, companies, if you do want to sponsor these guys or have Dallas promote your stuff, just let him go ad lib. Because and what's really cool is he talks about him and his grandma getting high, and it's to me, I would actually like to be his neighbor.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, could you imagine some of the shit that you would get into with him? And the man has to have probably as big of a sneaker closet as he does a studio in his backyard. Because every day before an A's game, he takes a view from the office, and he's got a new, fresh pair of J's on. But no, I honestly hope I get to hear more of Mr. Dallas Braden. He's
a character. He is a character.
Oh yeah, personalities I like to follow. Pat McAfee, which big shout out. Him and his wife had their baby Thursday. Yes. So shout out, congratulations. Pat and then Dallas. I mean, could you imagine those two together? That would be an ADHD mess. Yeah. And it would be so entertaining to watch that I guarantee the internet might break. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Well, 2Ks, I think that wraps it up, bro. Is there anything else you want to? Did we miss anything? Anything you want to add?
No, that's everything I can think of.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think our teams were as shitty as what we thought.
As of right now, no.
So at least it gives us a reason for hope.
Keep on watching for now.
All right, 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on this. Everyone have a great week. Enjoy the weather. It's finally spring. And lastly, I did go 3 for 4 in softball Wednesday. Yeah, it was cold as shit. My back still hurt, and I rolled over one to the third baseman, took about 3 steps, and my back just. And we had another guy.
It's fun getting old, huh?
Oh yeah, don't recommend it. Another guy on our team had upper back, his hurt, and I just couldn't run. I could not run. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hit 3 singles, about 4 RBIs with a hurt back.
There you go.
So we're a gamer. and to kind of sidelight with Mr. Romo, we beat his team.
There we go.
Beat up on him pretty bad. So 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on this. Everyone have a great week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.